And we're on ECPreps Prep Softball Report. Adam, I didn't even know what to call our show, but you're with me this year as far as prep softball coverage, weekly show. We're going to cover all the teams in the East County. And you know what? We're going to talk about the rest of the county as well. So sorry I kind of flubbed our intro there, but this is going to be the Prep Softball Report every week. And I've got one of the most knowledgeable guys in the entire county as far as it comes to prep softball. Adam Paul, thank you so much for doing this. You've been doing a prep softball show for years now, and we're not going to let it slide. We got to have all your information and get the entire county caught up. I was hoping to see a new top 10 poll this week, but that hasn't debuted yet. They did have a media poll that was, I believe, maybe a panel of coaches, or maybe it was Monahan's preseason top 10. So you know what? We might get our own top 10 by the time this show is over. Adam, tonight was Cougar Classic night, the finals. And what happened? The rain kind of got in the way, huh?
Yeah. According to reading Terry Monahan in the Union Tribune, reading the article that was posted on the UT website, excuse me, the Platinum Bracket Championship game they said it rained pretty heavily during the game for the second straight year, and Mater Dei ended up winning that game over University City 6-2. They scored 6 runs in the first inning, and came away with that victory.
Well, and Mater Dei was in that top 10, that preseason top 10. I think they were 7th, but I think they're going to be still undefeated. I think they're undefeated with that championship game victory. Of course, to get to the championship, we'll kind of kick off our East County coverage, Adam. To get to the championship, they had to beat the Granite Hills Eagles, and the Eagles came in ranked 2nd in that preseason poll. So I don't know if you were expecting them maybe to knock off a team playing as well as Mater Dei Catholic. The only run for the Eagles in the game tonight came on Haley Johnson's home run, but Mater Dei scored 4 runs in the 5th inning to knock off the Eagles in that Platinum Bracket semifinal. What do you know about that one?
Yeah, for the longest time, the Eagles, led by, like you said, Haley Johnson's solo home run, and Stacey Chambers, basically for the longest time made that 1-run lead stand up until late in the game, when unfortunately a couple errors were to lead off that inning were costly to them, and they ended up the Crusaders ended up tying the game, and then scoring 4 more runs to basically pull out that come from behind victory.
Well, the Eagles certainly maybe the class of the East County right now. We still have some other really good teams. We're going to talk about them all, but I would think you'd have Granite Hills rated as the top team still in the East County. They are off to, I believe, a 6-2 start, and they have maybe the East County's top player in Stacey Chambers, an elite pitcher certainly, and Bailey Wallace hitting over 600 to start the season, and some other veterans as well. Brooke Bertucci looking great. Good start for her. And freshman, I noted Jenna Hainall also with some good stats so far. So the Eagles are the class of the East at this point?
Yeah. Oh, yes, definitely. Stacey Chambers, obviously in the circle, when you have a left-handed dominant pitcher like that, you're going to win some ball games. You got the big bats, and like you said, with Bailey Wallace, and of course Haley Johnson, who isn't catching right now due to an injury, but she's playing first base and whatnot. So we'll see how that she's gotten a little confidence after she's hit a couple home runs in this tournament. Like you said, Brooke Bertucci, and of course Jenna Hainall, the freshman, has stepped up really well as also. Unfortunately, the only Grant Hills, they have a tendency to commit a costly error at the most crucial time, as what happened to them today against Mater Dei. Other than that, I think, yeah, like you said, they are the top team in East County, and until somebody beats them, I think that they will win the Grossmont Hills League this year.
Yeah, and Adam, one of their losses, their other loss, I guess we could say, came to the team that played in the silver bracket, a semifinal at least. They won their game, but we'll talk first about the semifinal game because Patrick Henry ended up defeating Santana 3-0. Patrick Henry defeated Granite Hills, I believe, earlier this season. But tonight in that silver bracket semifinal, Patrick Henry with the victory 3-0. Jessica Bennett, a home run. And, well, what can you say about Shailene Chapman? Certainly one of the top pitchers in the county, and she spun a one-hitter against Santana. Expected to be a great pitchers duel between Chapman and want to shout out, even though she ended up losing this game, but Joey Barkheimer, Adam, certainly we talk about the Eagles being the best team, but the biggest story so far in the East County has to be that Barkheimer threw 2 no-hitters this past week leading up to the Cougar Classic Finals. So great job. She no-hit Scripps. She no-hit Mount Carmel. Great start. Sultans are off to a 5-3-1 start, but Barkheimer, certainly a big story. She also, I believe, has 8 RBI this season at the plate.
Yeah, the Sultans, they don't have the boppers like they've had it in the past in their lineup, and it was gonna be interesting to see how they were gonna fare pitching wise this year. With the graduation of all leaguer, former all CIF pitcher Madison Mendez, and so far Joey Barkheimer has done the job so far, and they've been able to manufacture runs as well, because like I said, they don't have the home run hitters like they've had in the past, the last couple of years, and I know that was a concern, was that they were going to have to manufacture runs for the upcoming season, and Henry is no slouch, and they were another interesting team because they lost, their top pitcher from last year, Olivia Hagante, who's still out with that injury she sustained last year, and also Haley H. Jenks isn't playing this year. At least I haven't seen her on the roster, so and whatnot. So I don't think she's playing. And they got Shailene Chapman to come in, and she's pitched really, really well. Of course, they have a pretty tough out all around lineup, starting at the top with Kaya Altmeyer, sister of Sierra Altmeyer from a few years ago there at Patrick Henry. Also, Boston College bound Lauren Nett is another contributor there. Of course, Chapman, Jessica DeWitt. Their only loss recently, besides tonight in the championship game, was a 2-1 decision to Del Norte in pool play of the Cougar Classic. Like I said, you brought it up, touched on it. They beat Granite Hills. That was in the season opener.
They also beat Grossmont. Remember, they trailed that game early and ended up beating Grossmont pretty handily, like 9-4.
Well, they actually were leading that game. They scored 4 runs in the first. Then Grossmont came back to score 5 runs. And then late in the game, Henry scored 5 runs to win that game 9-5.
Okay.
So it was kind of a back and forth seesaw affair, if you want to call it that. Again, like I said, they're top to bottom. They're tough to get out. Kyle Altmeyer leading with a 5.38 average.
Couple of home runs too.
Yeah, scored 7 runs and driven in 5.
And they have Des Patman, right?
Yeah, Des Patman. Yes, that's another big crucial bat for the Patriots.
Yeah.
They're gonna
They got to be a
definitely,
top contender in Division Two.
yeah. Division Two's like stacked with a lot of teams, so that's gonna be really, really interesting.
Yeah, and just want to mention, you mentioned back with Santana and Barkheimer, but they've actually used a couple of other pitchers who have had some decent results. So
Yes.
they may be deeper in pitching than we give them credit for. Justice pitched well in a couple of outings, and Emily Leggett is a new name to me anyway, and she has also had a couple of good outings. So the Sultans appear to be a little bit deep in pitching. Of course, they have other top players, Brianna Jerrig as well. Santana certainly be a
Yeah.
good ball club.
Yeah, both those pitchers pitched a little bit last year. Definitely a change of pace from the hard throwing Joey Barkheimer. Especially like against a team like Granite Hills last year. They, I believe it was Haley Justice, kind of really stifled Granite Hills a little bit with the slower pitching. Because Granite had kind of teed off a little bit against Mendez in that first matchup. So later on, in the second matchup, Justice pitched a little bit and, kind of stifled them. And even though Granite ended up winning that game, it wasn't easy. Also on that on Santana is Lakaila Aquininock David, who, if you're familiar, she played basketball, and also was part of that Grossmont Valley League championship team this past season. She's been on the team all 4 years. She was part of their CIF championship game or team from 2017, so she has experience. And even though she's off to a slow start, she I believe she's ready to pick things up with the bat and also with the glove as well, because she is considered one of the better defensive players in that league.
And I'll mention one other player on Santana who's also a hot start with the bat, and that's Samantha Sullivan, who's got 8 RBI.
Mm-hmm.
So another good start for them. So we're continuing to cover it kind of from the Cougar Classic perspective. Maybe this is our season preview as well. We're going to hold off on our league picks, I think, but certainly we'll cover the divisions as far as long-term outlook this season. And you mentioned, Patrick Henry in Division II and how stacked Division II is. But also tonight, Adam, at the Cougar Classic, Grossmont was in action. Unfortunately, they were no hit by Maya Loper of the Otay Ranch team, 7-0. Otay got that victory. Now, I will note, we'll talk about Grossmont here and their players, but they will be taking on El Cap on Wednesday, which should be a pretty decent game because El Cap is off to a very, very good start. But Grossmont tonight, Adam, they've been kind of up and down, to say the least so far. They're 3-4-1. They lost to Valhalla 10-0 in that season opener, but certainly have some players that worthy of consideration so far, including Brianna Blue hit a home run earlier this season. Freshman Jay Daly off to a pretty good start, hitting around 400 or so, as is Isabel Cervantes.
Yeah, Grossmont, they're a real young team. They only have a couple seniors. Kati Contreras is one of them. Tonight in that game against Otay, I got off the phone with veteran coach Jerry LaRude about 20 minutes prior to getting in touch with you, and he said the home run or home runs or whatever, how many home runs Otay Ranch hit, they were sky balls basically. The winds kind of helped things, but it was just one of those things that it just wasn't their night. Like I said, they're up and down. They lost the opener to Valhalla 10-0, which kind of was like, wait, what? Did that really happen? They came back, to tie, played a great game with Patrick Henry to tie it. Unfortunately, they ended up losing that game 9-5 late, and they lost to Eastlake 8-4. Eastlake is it's one of the top teams in the county. Sophomore, like I said, Izzy Cervantes, leads with a 4.55 average. Kimmy Bond and Kati Contreras are also hitting 3.85. Sophomore Caitlin Potts before tonight was 2-0 with a .64 ERA.
So she's handling most of the pitching chores for the Hillers.
Yeah, she, that was her first loss tonight. Kati Contreras also pitches for Grossmont. So I think, Rudy, he's going to, see how game by game or whatnot, talking to him, he'll make the adjustments, and Grossmont will be definitely be a competitor in that Grossmont Hills League.
And we'll talk about maybe that game with El Cap in just a moment, but let's continue to you mentioned also, Adam, but I want to talk about these county teams, but in the silver bracket final, Otay went on after that game to defeat Patrick Henry 7-5. Is Otay a bit of a surprise? Are they a pretty decent team?
Well, their top pitcher, Giselle Garcia, transferred over to Mater Dei. And, it was Garcia who pitched in the championship game tonight against University City. Good for the Mustangs. I wasn't sure what they were going to have from talking to a couple people who know the teams down there. They're an up and down team. So it'll be interesting to see what they do the rest of the year.
In the bronze bracket of the Cougar Classic, Brawley eliminated Valhalla. Was that a semifinal, Adam, as well? Brawley wins 3-1. I want to just mention, though, the Lady Norsemen do have a couple of wins so far this season. In tonight's game, Abigail Johnston continued to shine early on. She had the lone RBI in the game, and she's hitting well over 450 so far this season. Adam, the Norsemen might have the most power so far of any of the teams in the East County. They got 3 home runs. Bailey Munch has a home run. Freshman Michaela Fish has a home run. And, of course, we talked about it. They got that win over Grossmont. So, Valhalla, things are looking up.
Yeah, they beat Grossmont, like you said, that opening day. They have a big win over over University City. They shut them out, actually. They beat Oceanside the other day to get into the semis for their bracket. Bailey Munch, like you said, she leads the team with a 5.56 average and a home run, and also has 5 RBIs and 4 runs. Marin Jordan sets things up for that lineup at the top of the lineup. They have their close losses in the Cougar Classic were to both San Marcos, which was a 1-run game, 9-8, and a 3-1 loss to Cathedral Catholic. Like you said, they tied El Camino and beat Oceanside, and lost their game today 3-1 to Brawley. So, with 6 freshmen on the squad and mixed in with 5 sophomores and juniors and 2 seniors, they're back down over to the Valley side of things this year. Coach Rick, he's going to have a pretty decent squad. I think they'll give teams fits. I think down the line.
Yeah, and also on the team, senior Yaneli Gonzalez. Freshman Naomi Villalva has pitched pretty well so far.
She shut out Grossmont in that opening day victory.
Okay, good job for the Norsemen. Tough loss tonight, but looks like they'll have a pretty good team. And, Adam, we were going to do the show last night. We said, you know what, let's wait and get these Cougar Classic results in. Maybe we'll have some exciting news to talk about. We have a lot of losses up there tonight. But look at this. We have a win right there. Steel Canyon over Chaparral in the Copper Division. Was this a semi. Was this a semi or a final?
This was the final. That was the championship.
Great. So the
Yeah.
champions of the Copper Division, Steel, I believe that's their 4th victory of the season.
Yes.
Bianca Morales hit a 3-run home run in the game tonight to pace Steel Canyon, and they've got freshman Emma Shellstrom's been doing a great job pitching, handling majority of the pitching chores for Steel Canyon this season. And they also have another exciting freshman, Jasmine Williams, off to a good start with the bat. What do you know about Steel? Big victory tonight, and Morales, the 3-run homer.
Yeah, no, it's a big win over Chaparral out of Temecula. It's their second Copper bracket championship in the last 4 years. They were champions of the 2017 edition in same bracket. They won they won the Copper bracket. I kind of made a wrote it in my notes. They won the bracket, like I said, back in 2017 when they beat Point Loma, and that year they would go on to the Division II CIF championship game, where they ended up being the runner-ups to Santana High. They're really young. They graduated some really talented ball players off last year's squad. Audrey Baggy, who was a 4-year starter. Jessica Venzer, who also was a 4-year starter. That's a lot of home runs and hits and defense to lose. But you know what? This year's squad, coached by Kevin Pearlstein, I think will give a run for the money to Granite Hills. Of course, you mentioned Emma Shellstrom. She's the younger sister of former Valhalla standout Rachel Shellstrom. So she is a very talented pitcher. He's got freshmen who are pretty talented. Janaea Wilson is another one.
Talk about power. This team has more. I don't know if they lead the East County in homers. They got like 5 of them. Wilson has one. Brianna Perez has a home run.
Yeah, what's even crazy is the fact that Bianca Morales, before her home run tonight, she's kind of off to a slow start offensively. Taylor Thomas is another standout for the Cougars. She actually leads the team with a 381 average. Like I said, Bianca Morales, she hit a home run tonight, so good for her. She, before tonight, she, kind of looking over the stats that have been reported so far, she, kind of off to a slow start, but you know what? Hopefully tonight, today's game, she'll pick things up and she's going to be fine. Like you said, all their freshmen are contributing. They're going to score runs. And the only thing is, can their pitching, can Emma Shellstrom hold up? I think she will. They're going to score runs, and they're going to be kind of like last year, where they put up a ton of runs and they gave up runs as well. But they'll definitely be a contender.
Yeah, I mentioned Thomas and her hitting so far. She had 4 RBIs in that game against High Tech San Diego. I want to also mention Steel Canyon, their one tie, did come against West Hills. So we'll talk about the Wolfpack in just a moment. Yeah. But 2 of our teams were meeting there. So, and I mentioned Wilson and Perez hit those home runs, and that came in that earlier loss to Scripps Ranch. Actually, they actually lost that game. So I don't think. Yeah, you're right. The Cougars are going to hit.
Yeah, they're one of their heartbreaking losses was an extra innings 1-run loss to Scripps Ranch. In a game that they led.
Oh, maybe I've just lost Adam here. He'll catch up in just a moment. We were talking about the Cougars. We'll get his comments on that in just a moment. Adam, just go in and refresh or go in and come back out. I'll start us up on the next team, and I think Adam will be right back in here. That was all the action tonight. right here at Kit Carson Park in the Cougar Classic. Adam, did you have anything else on Steel Canyon? I was ready to move on, but you were.
Nah, I think they'll be fine. The bats, they're young, and they're just, right now they're figuring things out, and they'll, the Copper Bracket Championship will give them a boost.
Looks like I'm as long as everybody can hear me, just ignore my delay. But okay. And Adam has been to many a Cougar Classic. So Adam, we'll just touch on one more game tonight, as long as you can hear me. Helix. Boy, they're off to a great start this season. The Highlanders defeated Mira Mesa tonight, 15-0. Starting, they're just getting rolling right at the Falcon Fiesta.
Yeah, this year. Coach Emery kind of bolstered up the schedule a little bit, getting into the Falcon Fiesta. I think they're going to be playing Torrey Pines again this year, like they did last year. So Coach Emery is challenging them with with a tough early preseason schedule to get them prepared, because they're on the Valley side this year still. Sophia Ramuno is obviously the top pitcher for them. Cameron Jonalonius is also one of their top players as well. He looks like, I didn't check out the stats for tonight, but beat any team 15-0 is pretty impressive. Oh. Moni, can you hear
me? Yeah.
All right. Can you, Moni? Oh, looks like we're having technical difficulties.
Yeah, I am.
Well, Helix still being they're in division. Let's see. Division 2. They moved up from Division 3. They'll be fine. They're, like I said, Division 2 is really stacked. So we'll have to see what happens there. Oh shit!
Has drove in 3 runs. They both have. So far, Audrey Cull is hitting close to 600. So far this season. And of course, he mentioned some of those other Highlanders that were doing so well and Silver Classic. So hopefully Adam is carrying us in this show. I hate to have to wrap up this show halfway through. Good job giving us coverage of all these. All right, let's see if we can't bring this show to everybody tuned out now, Adam. We're probably nobody's going to be watching now. But anyway, if they do, maybe they skipped over the last 2 minutes of my technical difficulties, and we'll cover the rest of the teams. Unless you had anything else to add. I did talk about Helix while you're away. I don't know if it made the broadcast, but I just mentioned that tonight Angel Riggins, the freshman, best freshman certainly in the East County, 4 RBI, and senior Avery Perez, the veteran, had 3 RBI. They both have, I believe, 9 RBIs this season. And also junior Audrey Cull off to a good start with the bat, hitting nearly 600. Also junior JoJo Giles and the pitching of Ramuno, and they have a couple of pitchers that back her up. So I don't know. Anything else on the Highlanders? They did really well at the Gold and Silver Classic.
Yeah, they're the favorites to win their league, in my opinion. With the bolstering of their schedule, that's gonna bode well for them come down the stretch, later on. Because in years past they haven't played a really tough pre-league schedule, so that really hurt them come playoff time. Coach Emery, he's got that program going in the right direction. They're going to be really good, and hopefully they do what they're supposed to do.
So we can cover a few more of these East County teams, and maybe we'll get a little bit of comment on the rest of the county as well. So far, I don't know who you want to go with next, Adam. How about West Hills? They defeated Mira Mesa 7-6 for I believe, their only victory so far this season. But they did lose to Grossmont in a close game in the quarterfinals, I believe, at Kit Carson in that silver bracket. That was a 1-0 decision.
Yeah, that was obviously a heartbreaking loss. West Hills, they only have a couple seniors on the team. Jules Fossing, who's played the last couple years, is one of them. Also, Mia Colabella, she'll be one of the leaders on the team. Lily Youngdale, who's only a sophomore, will have to be huge for the pack in the circle when she pitches. She gained a lot of experience from last year after pitching quite a bit last year. Kalia Rooks, who's also an outstanding catcher, and only a sophomore, will be a big weapon for them this year. Coach Applebaum, he's got a pretty young squad, and yeah, they're 1-3-1, or as of when I typed this up last night. I think that it's going to be really interesting to see what the Wolfpack do this year. Don't count them out, because they're like Valhalla, can come back, come up, and obviously compete with you when they play a pretty good game. They only lost 1-0 to Grossmont the other day.
And another contender, Monta Vista. They look like they have some bats so far. They just have, I think, the one victory. They smashed Hoover early on in the season, 16-1. Daisy Ortiz had 4 RBIs in that one. But they also have senior Mia Montanane off to a very, very good start, and senior Desiree Corona also. These two, both of them pitch, but they also both off to great starts offensively.
Yeah, the Monarchs, they'll score runs. They don't play the toughest of schedules, so they'll get all the early pre-league victories, and then of course they'll get the couple wins against against El Cajon Valley, and then the game between them and Mount McGill. Their games are always interesting. They either split or one of them sweeps the series. They'll have to pick up more preseason wins this year, I think, because I think they'll finish in the top half of that league. I think Desiree Corona will obviously have to step things up this year for the Monarchs.
And over at Mount McGill, they've got a new coach this year. They do have a couple of wins, but they've had about a week off right now, and I think they're in a little lull in their schedule. So I don't know if you have much on the Matadors yet. They have a new coach, though, and a couple of wins.
Yeah, I don't know too much about the Matadors. Coach Andre, he was a veteran assistant coach out at Monta Vista for Joe DeMars from quite a few years. He takes over for Kevin Darby, who led the Matadors back in 2017 to their Division 5 CIF championship victory over Foothills Christian. I think Coach Andre will do a really good job over there. He knows the girls. He knows that program. I believe he's on campus there, so that's a huge plus. Plus, their JV program is led by former Santana star Ariel Rasmussen. Is their new JV coach, so hopefully there's some stability there, and hopefully Coach Andre will get that program going in the right direction in the near future.
Yeah, and you did mention Foothills Christian in there. They actually had a big victory. I don't know too much about the Knights yet, but they did beat Liberty Charter early in the season, 21-7. El Cajon Valley does own a victory over Gompers, 11-10. These are just some of the other teams I just wanted to touch on. I don't know if you have anything on them. If you do, you can comment. But if not, we could also talk about the Christian Patriots. They're off to a sluggish 1-4 start, but they do have some talented players, certainly. And they lost to Santana last week, 8-3. But Audrey Shablowski's already got 2 home runs. She smacked those against Hilltop. And also impressive so far for the Patriots have been Allison Moody and Audrey Mallon, I believe it is.
Yeah. Kate Maines is another great player for them. They're really young. They're relatively young, I should say, with Shablowski being one of the only, if not few seniors on that squad. And I hope I pronounce her last name right, but Devin Kreistek is another really talented player for the Patriots. Coach Gentry, last year they went through some growing pains. After graduating quite a class led by Silent Rain Espinoza, who's now playing at the University of Washington for the Huskies. They won a couple of CIF championships back to back, a Division IV and a Division III crown a few years ago. But you know what? He's got some young players coming up through the pipeline, from my understanding. So we'll see. Coach Gentry, he's been around the block for quite a few years there at Christian, and he'll get them playing. And they play a pretty decent schedule, and they'll get more experience.
Yeah, you mentioned Espinoza. She's off to a real good start with the Huskies, huh?
Yeah, I was briefly read an article about her and her grandpa, and how she, as a young kid, and their travel ball experiences. She's doing pretty well up there, up in Washington. So shout out to her, and also a lot of the other girls that have gone on from East County to play at the Division I level, because that's tough.
Adam, that pretty much covers our East County teams. I was hoping to see a poll from the UT this week. Would be the first regular season poll. Didn't quite make it, I don't think. I didn't see it. So what do you think? I don't know if you came up with one, but obviously teams like Bonita Vista, Granite, Patrick Henry, Eastlake. Eastlake's got 9 wins, I think, already so far. RBV's 7-0 in modern day with that big tournament final at the Cougar Classic. So are these teams? How about maybe San Marcos and Rancho Bernardo? Who else can you throw in there?
Well, San Marcos has got a new coach this year. Veteran coach Steve Tidd stepped down. I'm not sure when. Just I guess before the season. So they'll be interesting. They were Division I last year after having won the Open division a couple years ago. They still have some talent over there. Sydney Sanders, Rancho Bernardo is going to be pretty good. Modern Day, they won obviously the Platinum Bracket Championship tonight. Granite Hills, a lot of the Torrey Pines. Talking to Coach Jonathan Moore, he told me they're young. But they still have some pretty decent ball players with Kyra Chan leading things there for the Falcons. Bonita Vista, seeing them at number 1, I was like, whoa, interesting. Even a couple of people were like, what does Bonita Vista have? But they always somehow pull things out. Aaliyah Jordan's dad. If you're not familiar with her, she's up at UCLA tearing things up. Former Bonita Vista product. Her dad is actually one of the coaches there at Bonita Vista, so they're doing really well. Of course, the one team we didn't talk about was El Capitan.
I'm sorry, brother.
Yeah, that's all right. They're gonna do really well this year as well. Alexa Williams, who's going to George Mason. Also, Katie Hicks, uh, super stud freshman catcher Ava Gall, who's
Yes.
ranked like 1 or 2 in the country for her class. She's one of the top freshmen of her class, and she plays catcher for them.
Eight RBIs so far for Ava. They were off to a rip roaring start. I think they won their first 7 games, right? But then they lost to Central 6-2, I think.
Yes.
Adam, and they beat Christian 18-1. They outscored their opponents like 36-3 to start the season. So they're just red hot. Katie Collier, Alexa Williams, Olivia Martinez both have home runs. Of course, Alexa in the circle, and they also have Brianna Horn. You mentioned, and she can also pitch. So, yeah, I mean, as far as Division II contenders, I mean, you mentioned Patrick Henry and how great they are, but is El Capitan up there with them?
Oh, yes, definitely. They last year, barely lost to Patrick Henry. Of course, Henry got bumped up to Division One. Actually, they're at the bottom of Division One this year.
Okay.
Division
Two.
Two.
We have it here.
Division Two's Mount Carmel, LCC, University City, Steel Canyon got bumped down to Division Two this year. Mission Bay, led by Cassidy West, who's going to Fresno State. Central Union, Del Norte, of course, El Cap, Claremont, Imperial, Mar Vista, who surprised some people this year with the big wins that they've had this year so far. Olympian, Oceanside, Otay Ranch, Valley Center, Hilltop, Point Loma, Escondido, High Tech High San Diego, and of course the Helix Highlanders. It's a pretty stacked division there for Division Two. I think it'll probably be the most interesting of the divisions this year. Of course, Division One, you're going to have your open contenders: Granite Hills, Bonita Vista, Mater Dei, San Marcos, Rancho Bernardo, Carlsbad, Scripps Ranch, Eastlake, Torrey Pines. The list goes on. There is no dominant team this year for San Diego, as there has been in the years past. There's no Mater Dei led team. Alexi Sosa and Alyssa Garcia. They're both up at UCLA right now, tearing things up. Of course, Lexi Sosa pitched a perfect game the other day for UCLA. Of course, Megan Faramo is up at UCLA for the Dons. From the Dons.
Did the Bruins ever lose?
I think they've lost once. Sarah Rasconi from Cathedral Catholic is up there at UCLA. So they got big San Diego connection going on up there for the Bruins. Of course, there's some San Diego connection going on for the Huskies, like we said, Silent Rain Espinoza. They have a girl from Mission Hills. I'm sorry, the name escapes me. She played at Mission Hills last year. It's going to be really interesting this year for the softball here in San Diego. Even in our own backyard, the last few years, the Grossmont Hills League has been in the top 3, if not 2, of the toughest leagues in all of San Diego. That's really helped them, especially in the power ranking system that is used, and also for come playoff experience.
And we'll be here each and every week to cover those. And hey, if we don't get a poll, we'll make our own, and we'll cover the county a little bit more as well, and keep up to date on all those, as well as all of our East County teams. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just saying we apologize for tonight's technical difficulties. Weather's kind of weird out there. It's kind of
I may be able to fix it. Don't worry about it.
But also, please tune in. And also, if you have any shout outs or people you want us to mention, or any hot tips or whatnot, send them to us on social media, or just reach out to us somehow. Where can they find us, Moni?
Well, of course, the reason we're broadcasting this one on Twitter is because the man behind the king of the king of prep sports social media in San Diego, Adam Paul, ECPreps. Follow him on Twitter, and of course, you can get him on Facebook too. But man, all over Twitter, and I'm at Ramon Scott Media on Twitter. So Adam will try to be here each and every week to give a prep softball report. It's got to be like your fourth or fifth straight year of doing this type of show, and no one does it better than Adam Paul. So, all right, Adam, I'll get us out of here. Looks like I froze you up again. I pretty much killed us with the technical difficulties, but you have a great pose right there as we'll wrap it up. For Adam Paul, I'm Ramon Scott. Thank you for joining us.